Hey guys, it's me. It's New Year's Eve, so happy New Year's Eve, happy New Year's. We're coming to a close with 2020. I want to talk about all the joy and wonder that it brought. Just kidding. I don't want to be extremely cynical, though it's kind of hard not to be considering what's happened this year. But if we are to juxtapose it with other years, really, is it all that different? Maybe it was just a little more in your face, but let's get into it. I basically just want to run through some of the, I guess, major components of the year and my opinions on them. It will be political, it will be personal, and it will be fun as well. So, first things first, I'd like to discuss the election, the Democratic primary leading to the election, and the actual election. With this election, there were many things that I took away from it. However, there were some major components to the election that I would like to highlight. One being Barack Obama's involvement in the Democratic primary. Barack Obama had been reported well before candidates Buttigieg and Klobuchar dropped out of the race and endorsed Vice President Joe Biden at the time. Uh, where did they do that? I think was it Texas or was it South Carolina? I don't know. Safe to bet on South Carolina just because that's where he wanted to be all the time, or thought he was all the time. Nonetheless, before they did that, I think they got a little call. Ring, ring, brrr. Here I am, Barack Obama. Pete Buttigieg, now you have the best leverage. So he used his leverage and dropped out of the race to help consolidate that like centrist vote for Joe Biden along with Klobuchar. Now, why would Barack Obama, insert himself as a puppet master in the Democratic primary? Could it be that he's just another corrupt corporatist who needs to push their agenda for himself and all of his country club friends? Maybe so. Maybe that's why he's in Hawaii partying right now while telling you to wear a mask and stay home. Could be. Nonetheless, it was reported before that took place that if Bernie Sanders were to take the lead, then Barack Obama would do whatever he could to prevent Bernie Sanders from getting that nomination to be on the ballot for the general election. And I think that it's just because Barack Obama ideologically does not agree with Bernie Sanders. And I mean, history shows that because Bernie Sanders has protested, I think, multiple times some of Barack Obama's proposals or policies whenever he was president. Also, I think that there was an idea that Bernie Sanders could not win. And a part of me is thinking, well, if you are this intelligent, as intelligent and gifted as Obama is and many other, strategists in DC, how can they be so ignorant in thinking that Bernie Sanders couldn't win? Someone proposing things like eliminating student debt, health care for all people, legalizing marijuana, expunging records for those nonviolent crimes associated with marijuana, and also banning privatized prisons, just shaking up the whole system and, revamping it a bit instead of making like tiny reformations. That type of like revolutionary politics during a global pandemic that has exposed all of like America's woes, if you will. How can those who are paid way more than what, people like you and me watching at home make or could make in like 5 years, they get that in, 6 months, a short contract. Like, how can they possibly not understand that Bernie Sanders' politics would have been very popular this year? And it would have made more sense. It was definitely a time where it could have been more acceptable, and honestly, like, anyone, not anyone, but he could have, because actually, like, in the polls leading up to uh, the general election, it was only Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden who had a lead, a 1 point lead over Donald Trump, and that was consistent. Bernie Sanders led actually in crossover support for Republicans and independents, whereas Joe Biden was further down the list. Second was Andrew Yang, and third was Tulsi Gabbard. Bernie Sanders had more individual donations from the military than Donald Trump, or even Pete Buttigieg or Tulsi Gabbard, who, like, Tulsi Gabbard is still in the reserves, I believe, and Buttigieg is a veteran. Bernie Sanders' policies and his message resonated with a lot of people. So Barack Obama interfering, it pissed me off. Like, can't put it any other way. It pisses me off. And it is a great example of what we saw throughout the Democratic primary, which was the fight between progressivism and centrism in bed with corporatism. You know, and corporatists and centrists claim that progressives are radical, though I think that giving trillions to corporations and pennies to people during a global pandemic in which, or during which, you've taken away their jobs and tens of millions of people are permanently unemployed, that's very radical. And that's very extreme. And that's not new politics. That's politics from neoliberals that has pervaded Washington for decades. And honestly, it's the kind of politics that was rooted in this country's foundation, given that the founders saw, you know, working class people as those who were less than. And those were like examples of founders, like fathers of the Constitution, thinking less than or speaking down about the working class are prevalent in the Constitutional Convention, which was a part of the creative process of the Constitution. So I get the feeling of outrage, but I also just get the jaded feeling in that, like, this is just exactly how America was meant to be run, and it's upsetting and it's discouraging. But this, getting deeper into the fight between progressives and corporatism and centrism, it revolved during the debates mainly around Medicare for all. But at the core of this battle, what it really is about is just putting the working man and woman families first and above profits. Right now, we are in a country that puts profits over people, and the progressive message puts people before profits. And our government does not want that. So, you know, in other videos, I will go more in depth about specific policies and, you know, pros, cons, the arguments for or against, and that can be like an ongoing conversation between those of you who watch these videos. But I guess for the sake of this video, I want to just run over some highlights. So we saw that, I think in this election, we saw how fragile our democracy is. This democracy is so close to being destroyed by fascists and oligarchs. You know, the gerrymandering, voter suppression, the attempts at forming or staging a coup, and the support that it gets from elected officials and half of the voting population. I think that kind of shows how fragile this democracy is, and I think that should be a wake up call for anyone who cares about what goes on in this country politically, and how it runs. Uh, Additionally, on a personal note, I think in paying attention to politics and getting involved this year, I felt a profound amount of disappointment in America. Literally, like, everyone I voted for lost in the primary. I'm talking like state positions too. They lost. And that feeling, or rather, just like that reality, gave me the feeling that the vision that I see for this country is not what this country wants. And that's difficult to navigate whenever the vision that I have for society seems to be uh, a way to achieve a just um, and happier society. So I think there's huge disappointment felt from me uh, this year, and probably like a lot of other genuine progressives, not progressives who just want to get on Twitter and hashtag something and be angry and have someone to yell at and to be a social justice warrior and get attention, get a book deal, or get some retweets. But people who like their hearts in it because they care about all of the injustice, be it like environmental or economic or medical. Um, and I fall in that camp. So, not, or rather, just like once again, seeing that what I want to fight for is not what, like, the majority of America wants to fight for is that's difficult because then I question, like, do I need to be here? And that sucks because I mean this is probably one of the better places to be, at least while I'm American, brown, young, poor, trying to make it. This, like, I can't go to another country that would potentially give me like a better life until like I have money. So that's tough, but ultimately just gonna be here and do what I gotta do. um yeah, on a positive note though, because there was some good about this election cycle. um for the first time, I was really inspired by, and well, actually, not the first time. That's false. Because as a teenager, I was inspired by Harvey Milk and his story. So that statement was false. But I think for the first time, or rather, it's false to say that It's the first time I was inspired by an elected official. More accurate way to put it is that, like, this was the first time I was inspired by someone uh, running for office uh, that, like, I could vote for. Because obviously, when I was 16, Harvey Milk was dead. Um, and that person was Bernie Sanders. Uh, and that feeling of excitement that I had and encouragement, it felt good because it did kind of feel like, okay, there is, for as many people that there, and there are like more of those who just like don't agree with Sanders and his followers than there are Sanders's followers. But for many of those who exist, I saw there are just millions, tens of millions of people who were feeling the burn, were ready to burn the establishment, and wanted to revolutionize this country's politics. That was uplifting because that to me feels like there is the potential for change in future generations, which, you know, as Harvey Milk would say, you got to give them hope. I was given hope by Bernie Sanders' campaign, and I'm grateful for being able to uh, have had the experience of canvassing for him. It was it was great, um, and there's just nothing like being able to be with a large group of people and know that you are connected by something like philosophical. That feeling is good, um, because it just feels like there's like a solid community there, and Bernie Sanders definitely was responsible for giving me that feeling. All right, so that is all I'm really going to get into with the election, only because like I consume a lot and there's just so much that I could really say about almost everything that went on politically between 2019 and now. So I'll just give you guys that, and I'm going to move on to the next part of this 2020 recap. And that one's also, that piece was a bit somber, probably because it really depressed me, probably. All right, so how can we talk about 2020 and not talk about COVID-19? Because I mean, like, it's still here, and it may be here next year, We never know. It's like that funny meme with Cardi B. I'll see you next year or not. But we definitely know that they're going to see us next year. And there's going to be a part two. It's COVIDiana, the sequel, is happening because there's a mutation and it's already been found in Colorado. It's going to be found everywhere else. We still haven't closed the doors to the UK and been like, calm down. But I mean, it's just naturally going to mutate because the person who caught this virus, what do I call it, COVID 2.0, I don't know, 19.2, had no like travel history. So I think it's just the natural variation that's always going to happen with a virus. But in speaking of COVID-19, I want to point out the failed response of our elected officials. And even in just like saying this, it's like, damn, 2020 as a recap is this was kind of, this was quite a year. This was quite a year. Quite a year to be negative. I'm leaving some positive things, which have to do with like me and my personal life and like interests. Because that's where the source of joy had to come from for sure. I mean, as it always does, but it's like the material that we were all given from everyone else was very, very negative and, I mean, fatal. But yeah, the failed response in COVID-19 this year just like it further pissed me off because here we are, the richest country in the world. And we have like all the resources we could, we have resources of our own. We steal everybody else's resources except intellectual property. Apparently, we haven't figured that out. And China is just on top of their game whenever it comes to IP. Nonetheless, we have the resources to give trillions of dollars to corporations in the midst of a pandemic, and support for that is, unanimously given in Congress. But when it came time to properly provide substantive or substantial stimulus to the people, what did they do? They acted unsurprisingly. And they said, to hell with the poors, basically. And you and I got and some people didn't. I don't know if they're bots on Twitter who are like, I still haven't even gotten my stimulus check, but I would believe it because, like any other business, the IRS is like, we'll be quick to take funds from you, slow to give funds to you. So some people still haven't even gotten it. And also, like, people aren't getting unemployment whenever they need it. So I just don't doubt it. I mean, the government, it just seems, is systematically, like, designed to fail us. And, like, laugh at us while they're doing it. It's a shame. $1,200 to last for, like, 9 months or almost a whole year. They're like, here you go. Make it count. Really, make it count. And it's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. And I think, like, how can we, just, how can we be number one and treat our people so poorly? Like, is that what's required in order for us to remain number one? I don't know, because all of the other developed countries have like subsidized their people. So yeah, COVID-19 this year was just an overall fail. An overall fail. And maybe some states did it right. I know my state didn't. My state, like in my state, the governor like tried to, because he was up for re-election. So it was political. It's like, okay, well, let me, because he's a Democrat. By the way, I'm not a Democrat. I'm unaffiliated. But anyway, he's a Democrat in a Trump state, and tried to like walk the line, that very thin line, so that he didn't piss off too many Republicans, but still kind of like symbolically gave Democrats what they wanted. So, it was like, wear masks, no enforcement of masks, but wear them. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag if you're not making it, sorry. Like, just sorry about it. Hate it for you. And nothing made sense either with how he responded to the virus in terms of his prevention tactics. So if we are facing a fatal virus that is causing a global pandemic, then why are like spas and gyms open, yet other, and but other businesses like bars are not, and then bars are open, yet our numbers are increasing. And then he's just like, if the trends are upward, or numbers keep increasing and the rates are increasing, then we're going back to phase one. And he posts a graph, and it's like, okay, well, the rates are increasing. He's like, okay, and we're on to phase three. Right after posting the graphs that like contradict what he's doing. So it didn't make sense. And it's like, well, obviously now we're in the dark winter and the numbers are way worse, like 4 times as worse than what they were whenever this thing started, and over the summer whenever we jumped to phase two, and it was like, oh, things are getting worse than they were in phase one. So yeah, just nothing made sense. Nothing at all. Were there any successful responses? I don't know. I mean, I guess this vaccination for the people who need it, like health workers, that can be seen as a successful response. So we at least have that. So there's that. But COVID happened, and I guess we'll drop that in the time capsule. All right, and let's hit one more serious subject that is relevant for 2020 and this year in review. And I think that just has to do with social issues. Race in America was an amplified subject, and it always seems to be, but this year, I guess more people were able to, or it's not that they were able to, they just decided to pay more attention because they didn't have anything else to do. We were all at home not working. We had George Floyd, Breonna, more names. Just more names to add to the list, and that list is ever growing, and it's never going to stop. And I guess what I would say about race in America is I want reparations, basically. Like, I want reparations, and until we get reparations, all of this is just effed up. We need reparations. Period. That's it. Everything else, like, whatever. I don't care. If you don't like me because of my race, whatever. You think my hair looks weird, you don't like the way I talk, you don't like the way I look, I don't care. Just give me money. That's where I'm at. Give me some freaking money. So that's how I feel about race in America. Those aren't my only feelings, but that's, I think, one of the best ways to just that's probably the best first solution is reparations. So that needs to happen. And I think also just a shift in the community itself that needs to be dynamic, and that has to happen simultaneously with reparations. And just to where we aren't always rioting and screaming for justice over criminals, getting killed. And I don't say that in a patronizing way or anything. 100% what happened was totally wrong. There's no excuse. Absolutely not. So, I'm not one of those people. But for real, I guess I want I want our interests to be targeted towards more productive things. And I just see the black movement politically as unproductive. It's unproductive. We put up faces who don't have our backs when they get in high places. And they don't like the Black Caucus is not advocating for reparations. They aren't advocating for real solutions to reverse the negative impact of this country's roots of racism. And like the it seems the what the black community can do is to make a scene and to be seen is to like riot and pillage, or I don't know, go out and support a movie that has like an all black cast. And it's like that all black cast isn't, really doing anything to improve the material conditions of our lives, so I don't know. I just, man, there's just so much to it that it's like getting into it in this video is like way too much, and I would honestly like to have like more conversations with people just about like each of these things. But yeah, I guess if you remember anything, just remember reparations. Remember reparations, and like don't be racist. Like just don't. Damn. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? I keep looking over because I just like wrote down, things that I possibly would want to talk about. I think in terms of social issues, another thing that I saw was that I want like all of American culture, or maybe not all, but most of it, to just be completely revamped and to be changed. Just in how people thought politically and how people thought about like social issues. It just seems like people are really brainwashed. Like there was just this, effort to indoctrinate everyone born in America to buy into propaganda that makes you act against your own self-interest. And it's like, okay, don't shame people in the way that they vote or what they think because they have to think in their own self-interest. Okay, but you're not. That's the thing. Like, they're not. These people are not. And that's what blows my mind. And I also get frustrated because it just seems like people in America lack the ability to take themselves outside of an American perspective or just outside of their own individual experience. And they are unable to compare American ideology and politics and the way that they think to others, to then like use that comparison as a source of information that enables them to refine their own thinking and their own values and views. I just like to go throughout life thinking one way and not changing. It seems as though like that life was not evolutionary. So I don't know. I'm ready for us, to evolve. It's just, and at a basic level, at a basic level, like I'm ready for us to like meet each other and not talk about what we do for work in our like first conversation. You know, I'm ready for, these Instagram and social media pages posting about wealth moves and how you can move up, even though it's you've been bamboozled. Yeah, move up with your $1,200 stimulus check that you're supposed to stretch out for, 9 months and then get $600 after that. You know, like, yeah, invest that and then don't pay rent, don't eat, and like don't have a car, don't do anything, just stand out in the cold and starve for 50 years, and then you'll be able to afford that nice watch that you want to buy. Just the ridiculousness. Yeah. So I'm tired of a lot of it. I'm tired of the people in the comments who are like, all you got to do is work hard, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like, you know, like what hustle are you really doing? Because if you were really hustling, then like we would know. You would be creating something like significant. I mean, so it just all comes back to, it's just like seeing people in the comments in support of these like dumb ideas. It's like, well, why are you in support of these dumb ideas? Because you were taught to support it. And it's like, why haven't you unlearned that yet? And that's the thing. It's like, I feel like I'm in the freaking matrix, and like really there are only so many people that can be on the ship. And that sucks because it's like, damn, there aren't a lot of people who are awakened, because this ship only has like 10 people, and there's so many people out there in the matrix. Ah, man. Yo. Yeah, so this year is just like had all of that just playing with my mind, and I don't know, but I made it through, so yeah, whatever. And if I had to choose a word for this year, it would be inequity. Inequity would be the word of the year, because and I look forward to whenever like justice and equity are words of the year, but right now I think people are just stuck on the inequity part. Like they're just now seeing inequities. Inequities are being like discussed more in politics, and like I don't know, I felt it. I felt the inequity this year, and not saying that like at a personal level all of these injustices somehow like directly affected me in a traumatic way. It's just like, okay, finding like the documents of my ancestor, or one of, no, like two of my ancestors who were slaves, like that made some of this country's inequity very real for me. And like knowing that there was like not much I could really do about PFAS being in the water that me and my partner drink, like that was another big moment that was like kind of devastating. Like that was probably one of the most depressing uh, realizations of just inequities, and because that touches on like environmental injustice. Uh, but really, though, a lot of it is just seeing all of the inequity in the world and being empathetic to everybody's situations, and just wanting things to be different, because I think for me, like, a big reason why I want revolutionary change and for us to evolve is because, like, I think I just see a different purpose in the human species than, like, what most American humans see their purpose as. So, yeah. If you're interested in knowing what that is, then let me know. I'll tell you what I think that is. All right. But we've got that out of the way, and I just had to touch on those like more somber things because it was like entrenched in 2020, you know? Like how can you not recap 2020 without being like depressing? I don't see how not. But more fun things to mention is like entertainment and media, some highlights for me. So I wrote down a list over here, Chromatica, music wise. So I was not listening to a lot of music this year. I work out, and basically the music now on my playlist is dated, and it's just like as long as it can help me move and run, then cool. But Chromatica, I totally needed that, and I didn't know I did, but I did. It was fun, it was bubbly, it was colorful. Music videos reminded me of like the freaking Power Rangers. So that had me bopping around like I needed to be this summer, and I'm so freaking thankful for that. Was able to, yeah, because like, okay, the gym shut down, and like, what am I gonna do? This is the thing that like keeps me stable. But I ran and luckily had some 20-pound dumbbells because, you know, and which suck because I want heavier dumbbells and a whole barbell rack and, or a squat rack with a barbell and some bumper plates and all of that in my own little space. But that's like thousands of dollars that I don't have. So, yeah, had to like run, just run. And Chromatica was super fun. It was a super fun album, so that was something that I found to be very positive and fun. This year, there were some cool things on Netflix that I really liked and found joy in this year. So Dragon Prince, great. Sabrina, amazing. The Watchmen, couldn't take my eyes off of it. Like binged that whole thing in one night and a morning. Uh, I can't remember what it's called, but it's about dragons and dragons. No, they are like sky pirates, and they hunt dragons, and then they make delicious meals with the dragon meat, and then they sell the dragon meat at markets also. So that was great. The animation in it was amazing. And I liked how they presented food, and I liked how they described the food. It was very descriptive, and that part of the production was cute. I liked it. So what else? Witches was wonderful. That's the word that comes to mind whenever I think of witches. So for Halloween, it was fun watching that movie. I was a big fan of some Roald Dahl novels and movies as a child, like many others. So but I wasn't super familiar with witches, though I don't think it was like one of my favorites, but I do remember liking it. And by the way, like my nana was a librarian, and I'm pretty sure she was a literature teacher before I was born. But she was a librarian at, I don't know, maybe like two schools. I know like her last school she was a librarian was my elementary school, and so like just she'd have me read things, and that was like something cute to share with Nana, like a little memory, walk down memory lane. Seeing the remake, it was funny. I liked it, so I'll watch it again. Castlevania was dope. Kim's Convenience, I love. It's so funny. We got a new season earlier in the year, and I'm glad that like two more seasons are coming because Schitt's Creek ended this year. So Kim's Convenience being greenlit for two more seasons is nice because I love just like positive, funny, happy, light shows. Um, I mentioned Schitt's Creek. Boondocks, I watched twice this year, and it was the first time I had watched Boondocks. It was freaking hilarious. I loved it. Huey's so funny. And Riley, all of them are really funny. Wit, it's super funny. And the Great British Baking Show, that's definitely one of my favorite TV shows. That's like, how people read like bedtime stories to children, so the Great British Baking Show is like my version of a bedtime story. Like, put me to sleep. It's so nice to just go to bed thinking, like, with your last thoughts being about delicious cake or pastries. Minus the only time that like it bothers me is whenever I see pastries with like salmon in it. That's just nasty. You know, like a pie with salmon in it. That's pretty gross. Don't put seafood in pie crust. That's and you know and they like so it's just weird. In the pudding, you know, but I mean that's what they do there. So we can't judge all God's children, but it's nasty. Uh, and like I said, I didn't listen to much music this year, but this is an old song, but I found it this year. Death by Demon Hunter. That one went real hard. I just, you know, it's I am death. That is sometimes exactly what I need to hear. And it was amazing running to that. New Eyes by Adam Lambert was very catchy. Very good song. Pretty groovy. And then Caution by the Killers. The Killers gave me, you know, a good song. I don't know about the album. Wasn't, I mean, it just didn't catch me and I didn't really pay attention to it. But Caution was, it was nice. So that's just, there's that. Man, I guess, yeah, this year is like not inspiring any happy, exciting feelings, though I'm not like a very excitable person. I guess I'm more mellow. I'm happy. I'm a happy person, but I am a little mellow. So it's part that too. So it's like a mellow person talking about this year is like, I think though the greatest part of this year though was just all of the personal time that like I got with myself and my partner. That was good. I was forced to run because you know gyms shut down, and that was nice because challenging my aerobic endurance again in that way I think is necessary and like required me to push myself in a different way, and I did it and I'm still doing it. Like gyms have opened and I decided to go back in like like late October. Yeah. And I'm still running. So I think this year I like so I'm 26 and they say the brain develops fully or at least as full as it can by like 25, and this year at 26 I think that like I just felt more clear about like what I discern and my own judgments, my own thoughts, and that just made me like happier with me. So I think this year I've been happier with myself, which has been nice. Um, with this like pandemic, I've been like shacked up every day, like 24/7 with my partner, and that's like allowed the relationship to grow, you know, and I think that like people choose what they do with the opportunities that they have, you know, in many ways, especially whenever it comes to like relationships. And I know I chose to just like take the opportunity to get closer and grow. And like that's what we did and we're doing. Um, so that was good as well. And I hope that, you know, anyone watching this was able to do the same. I can't deny the fact that this year's also been an introvert's dream. I am, you know, a bit introverted and kind of a lot introverted. But yeah, but I'm doing this. Yeah, I'm doing this because it's like I gotta figure out like how to get rich. I'm trying to get that YouTube money. We'll see if that happens. Probably not. But yeah, it was like this year was an introvert's dream. Like everyone just stays home. And I like that. Just stay home. What like more is there to do? Like Thanos had it right. Just like a cottage, pick some fruit, cook, chill, relax. And I mean, granted, like I do really love Wi-Fi. I love it so much that actually, like, probably one of my like strongest dislikes is slow Wi-Fi. So I mean, like, I think I am, you know, like I'm not a perfect like citizen who's just super sustainable and one of those like all natural like everything like no internet off the grid kind of people. I'm just, I want to stay home and not be bothered, be able to get on the internet, play my video games, write, sing, paint, and not like and eat, cook, work out, not worry about like anything really. So I don't know. I think like just like people were forced to stay home, which was I don't know. That was nice because it just kind of felt like okay, well maybe like people will feel more comfortable like staying home and not going out, and like maybe society can be like less extroverted. But that's not going to happen. People are going to break free, go wild, especially whenever all of this is over, and I don't know. But for the times that like we were like legally mandated to just be locked down, that was nice. Something else I wanted to touch on personally was like depression and COVID-19 because I know like suicides went up and all of that. I mean, well, obviously, like that's going to be a part of it. I mean, just America in itself is like screwed, and suicide is bad, like so bad that there's like uh, traces of antidepressants found in fish because I guess it's like concentrated in human urine, and then that's somehow getting in the water where the fish are swimming. And it's like that's a lot of antidepressants in America. America's pretty sad. America's pretty sick, and America's pretty sad. America's very depressed, so surprise, surprise, more people are killing themselves. Whenever you cut off all of the external like stimulus that they were able to use to distract themselves from the fact that they are incredibly depressed and want to end their lives, they ended their lives. Um, and like their resources to live have been like taken away. So yeah, they're ending their lives. Also, they're just depressed in America. They ended their lives. Me personally, I got a little sad just because it seemed like a lot of my plans were changed. Like life plans were definitely changed. Went into the year like this is what's gonna happen, and then boom, everything just you know shifted. And I think also I'm not necessarily like where I want to be yet. So a lot of times like I can get down just because I'm not where I want to be. And like I too have to like unlearn a lot of what we've been like taught to think, like this is where you should be by this time and this is what you should be doing and this is how you have to do it. And it's like, okay, well that worked for you generations ago, but times have changed. Society's different now, and I just have to like think about the fact that it's a real data point, in like my 5 year age group, we have like overall on average a lower net worth than the generations above us and directly like beneath us, you know. So there's something like systemically wrong that has caused that. And I don't use that as an excuse to say, okay, well, I'm just gonna be a failure forever. I mean, I'm not a failure now, but you know, basically, like, it's not my crutch or my out to not try to achieve my goals. It's just like a reality and a fact, one of like hard facts that I use to remind myself, you know, life's just different for me. And like my process in getting to my achievements is going to be different than others. And the time it takes me will be different than others. And that's fine. Um, and having to like sit with myself and sit with all of that and how that can like come out and project itself, uh, you know, that could lead to sort of like spirals of depression throughout the pandemic, especially whenever like I just in some cases unable to do what I wanted to do because of like COVID-19. Um, that was tough, but uh, I'm still happy, you know, and that makes me feel good. Just, you know, it was there and it's kind of always there. But like that feeling, that sadness. Uh, but it's something that can just like be there and not something that can like keep me down. Creativity, like my yearning for creativity came back and that was exciting. And then I think also just like this year was a wake up call for me personally. I I was just like I accepted who I am, and I accepted the way that I think, and I accepted that like it's okay. It's just it's okay to be me. It's okay to think like me, and it's okay to do what I want to do and to be who I want to be. And like I accepted that like I'm also with someone who accepts me for who I am, and like is totally down for like me, and just like thinks nothing of like much of anything that I do other than like supporting it, you know, which is like sort of difficult at times to accept because I come from a background in which I come from a background of like unacceptance, and then society is very like unaccepting of people who just think differently. And like I like that I have a nice psycho-social uh, environment going on at home now. Uh, that like helped me just like accept me, you know. Um, so yeah, that's my 2020 recap, and I will be posting my 2021 vision board and what I see for the year to come. And that will be more fun.